How are you, brother?
Alhamdulillah.
Assalamu
Assalamu
alaikum. How are you doing?
alaikum.
Good.
Alhamdulillah.
What's your name?
My name's Andrew Ramsey.
Andrew Ramsey.
It's my name.
That's nice.
I didn't change it when I became Muslim. Mum gave me that name, so I kept it.
Nice. When did you become Muslim?
I became Muslim on the 4th of September 1992.
Nice. That's a long time.
That's like way back, like 31 years back now.
Yeah.
I was 15, 16 years old.
15, 16.
Yeah, roughly that age.
What was the reason? How did you?
God, I was a Catholic before that.
All right.
And I think a lot of Catholics or Christians from that background ask questions, and the questions I was asking, I wasn't getting the answers. The answers didn't really sit right with me, and there's certain things within the belief that again didn't sit right with me. The divinity of Christ, certain things didn't add up concerning the Good Friday, the Last Supper, Jesus being God, Son of God, all of this. So these were things that just you grew up accepting them, but they just didn't add up in total. But they just didn't add up at all. So eventually what I did was I changed churches to begin with to see like if different denominations would have an explanation. So I left from the Catholic Church to tried the Seventh-day Adventists. I had some connection at the time with some Jehovah's Witnesses. Again, there were answers, but in the end it didn't sit right. I went to school in Tooting, South London, so a lot of my friends were Muslim. And I remember two of them invited me to those were the days you had these big Muslim summer camps that would have a couple of days run by a group called the Young Muslims Association. Remember, I don't think they exist anymore, but back then this was in a time before Google. There was no TikTok, no Google, no mobile phones. You did human things and you had human experiences like going out and speaking to real people. So that was how you got by. So I remember we went, there were about 3,000 Muslims at this particular summer camp in Worcestershire, I think it was. And 4 non-Muslims, so 6 non-Muslims, 2 of whom were my brother and I, my younger brother and I, 2 Hindus, 2 Buddhists, and then my brother and I. The 4, they took Shahada on the second day, on day 2. I refused to, because one thing I don't follow, I need certainty. So my brother wanted to, and he was about 11 years old at the time. And I said, no, we're not going to join this. We're going to look into this some more, because I'm not
content yet.
No, not quite.
All right.
So I remember my mother was a nurse. She worked night shifts a lot. So I used to get invited to these study circles on a Sunday morning. So I thought, right, I could actually get to the circle, listen, and get back before Mum gets back from work. So I spent a year doing that.
All right.
What tipped me over the edge was I used to read hadith books, and if I'm honest, the hadith books caught me before the Quran did.
Okay.
So there was when I was a Christian, I was obsessed with the end of the world. I wanted to know what's God's doing. It's to frighten the hell out of me, but I still read it anyway. The last chapter of the Bible is called the Book of Revelation. So when I came across hadith books, I came across a book called Mishkat al-Masabih, and I looked at Kitab al-Fitan just by chance. I was going through it, flicking through it, and I saw a couple of similarities, and then all of a sudden I saw Dajjal. Now, as a Caribbean kid, we were taught about Dajjal from when we were young. My mother first taught me about Dajjal when I was 5 years old. So he's in the Bible.
As the Antichrist?
The Antichrist. But I thought, what is this Dajjal? And I used to read, what's going on with him? And then I finally saw Dajjal, and in brackets, Antichrist. I went, oh, really? You've got him as well? And that pushed me over the edge, because I thought, right, this has got to be the truth here. Because not only were all of the prophet stories identical to the ones I knew, but they were more detailed. There was a lot more detail in the Sirah, in detail in the Quranic version of the stories than the biblical ones. So it's compelling. The fact that Jesus is coming back, and oh wow, you have Jesus too. Okay, fine.
All right.
And it all fit. So I became convinced in my heart, but then Shaitan came along. Went, don't do it. I said, if you Shaitan came along, and he said, no, don't, because you've got a girlfriend at the moment. You'll have to get rid of her. And for me, alcohol and pork weren't issues for me. We weren't pork eaters anyway, and wine is something you had at Christmas. We weren't alky people. We weren't, and beer was something. Oh, never touched it. Disgusting. It wasn't a thing. Beer wasn't a thing. So giving alcohol wasn't a thing because there was no alcohol to give up, apart from at Christmas. Pork wasn't a thing either. If I'm honest, the akhlaq that we were raised with as Caribbeans, African Caribbean boys, wasn't too different to the Islamic way of life. So I didn't jump. The move from Christianity to Islam wasn't really a jump. It was like a step next door.
All right.
Literally that. It wasn't. However, there was the problem of you are leaving the religion of your father and your father's father. That part was the scary bit. And yes, the whole idea of, well, girlfriends are haram. So, how do I do that? So I remember the brothers talking to me, said, please don't worry yourself with all of that. It is better that you take your shahada because you're convinced. It's not like you're not convinced. You're convinced of the message. So take your shahada and everything else will play out over time. So I remember we went to this masjid, and those were days when masajid weren't always open.
All right.
So there's this Turkish masjid near Mum's house. It was I think it was a Sufi place run by Sheikh Nazim, I remember correctly. And it wasn't open, padlocked. I remember they only opened on a Thursday and a Friday. Those are the days. So I ended up taking shahada in the park next door to it. Incidentally, many years later, that masjid's always open now. I'm very well acquainted with the masjid. But yeah, it was there that day, and I remember I still have the photograph actually of that day.
Wow.
So I had short back and sides, hair like those remember the 1980s, 1990s. That's the decade that taste forgot. You had the shell suits, and hip hop was kind of booming at the time. Hip hop and R&B were booming art forms at the time, so it kind of molded the way we dressed. But that said, that's how I became Muslim.
There was a day.
Yeah, and that was that really.
The golden day.
So shortly after me, my brother and sister became Muslim. My sister became Muslim when she exited Islam at 6.
All right.
She saw me doing things, and then one day, I think 6 or 7 years old, and she woke me up. And I'm a person, I like my sleep. What do you want? I want to be Muslim. I said, leave me alone. So she slapped me across the chest and went, if you don't let me be Muslim, I'll never talk to you again.
Wow.
So I went, oh, look, I tell you what, fine, let me sleep. When I wake up, I'll take it to the masjid, and that's fine. And I did. When I wasn't an empty promise. I took it to the masjid, and that was that. And
any regrets?
Regrets? No, don't be.
Once you made your mind.
Don't be silly. No regrets at all. I mean, there are decisions and there are decisions.
All right.
Okay, you can decide. It was a mistake speeding past that camera. It was a mistake overeating. But we're talking about Allah. We're talking about what you're accepting for life. You're talking about the Creator. We're talking about the Rabb, the one who owns everything and maintains everything he owns.
That's right.
So you don't make a mistake there. It's not. Everything else is fallible, but the only universal. Perfection is Allah Himself. So when you're making a step towards Allah, there's never a mistake.
That's right.
You may make a mistake on the way up, but towards Him now.
Yep. Cool. In my journey, I'm going to people, and I've decided to ask this question to each and every human being on this planet, whoever I can. And I'm asking this question to them, and I would like you to help me in that as well. That if you can tell people what is the purpose of life? What is the main purpose of this human being? When God has created this human being and teleported him on this planet, what was the main reason? I believe that we forgot that main purpose and we gone away.
I see too.
And that's why we're going downhill.
Yeah, so Allah in Surah Baqarah, it was verse 30 or 31, one of the two. He speaks to the angels before he even creates mankind. And it tells the angels, I'm going to put a Khalifa on the earth. The question you have to ask is, what is this Khalifa? Who is this Khalifa and what's his job? Okay, the Khalifa is human beings.
You mean ambassador?
Yeah, and what is he meant to be doing? What is he a Khalifa of? The earth itself, everything within the earth. So the environment, each other, the animals, everything. Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has entrusted the earth, entrusted man to the earth, and he's accountable for it. And he entrusted him to the earth to look after the earth within the boundaries of the deen that he set. So in another part of the Quran, Allah said, I have not created jinn and man for any other reason but to serve me. And I say serve because ibadah is not worship. Worship is something you restrict to a building and a time and a place.
That's a good.
If you're Abdullah, you're serving Allah, you're a servant of Allah.
That's a very good point.
So it's service. It's not, and service means your entire life. And that's secondly. Thirdly, deen isn't religion. Deen is your life. And where's my proof? There's a dua for everything. Which means what? There's nothing, if everything is under the dominion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then everything in your life should be deen. And everything should be towards that. So, purpose is purpose number one, to be a Khalifa in the earth. Purpose number two, well, the other way around. Purpose number one is to serve Allah. You are Khalq Allah. And Khalq Allah has purpose. The purpose is to serve Allah. Not just in your salah and your five pillars, but throughout your life. I remember a Jewish rabbi said to me, actually, he said to me, Jonathan Romain, who's a rabbi at the synagogue down the road, he said, praying is easy. It's what you do between them, you've got to watch. The life between the prayers, you have to watch out for that. And that's very, very true. Your entire life should be deen. I mean, Mufti Taqi Usmani said the same thing when he came to London. He said, if you make your entire dunya your deen, then your whole life is deen. So your purpose here is to serve Allah and to serve Allah within the deen of Allah, which is Islam. Everyone has deen, even a non-Muslim has deen, but the deen of Allah is Islam.
Wow.
There's a difference.
So are you telling me that a Jew, he explains you that what is worship? So it means that they got the same purpose like Muslims?
Yeah. I mean, good behavior isn't the sole domain of a Muslim. The question is the deen that he's living, is it the deen of Allah? You find good people amongst any community. You find dark ones in the Muslim community.
That's right.
People make that is the human condition. Good and bad are part of the human condition. However, the deen of Allah, like everyone has a way of life. The Christian, the Jew, the straight, the whatever, they all have ways of life. But the way of life, the deen of Allah, the deen that Allah accepts is Islam. Allah makes it very clear in Surah Al-Imran that if everyone comes with the deen other than this, then it won't be accepted. The deen of Allah is Islam.
If everyone's purpose is to worship Allah, so what's this conflict about? Why are we fighting with each other?
Choice, human choice and nafs. Because remember, you also have the challenge of your own self and the whispers of shaitan. And I refuse to give shaitan credit for this, because all he does at best is whisper, and you're the one who's listening. So human choice. Also, in the modern world, we have other distractions. We've got culture, we've got media. Now, culture isn't bad and media isn't bad. Actually, there isn't anything bad per se in the world. It's when you overindulge in the dunya to the point where it overtakes what's important. Hatta zurtumul maqabir, till death finds you, and then it's too late. So what we've done is we've overindulged in the dunya. We've neglected our knowledge of the deen, and we've reduced Islam to something we memorize without meaning. We're very good at memorizing the Quran and not knowing what it's saying, or we read from cover to cover like a Stephen King novel, when the Quran is not something to just be read. It's a living book. When Aisha radiallahu anha was asked about what was the Prophet's character like, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she said his character was the Quran. I was once told, I did my first Umrah in December 2022, never been there before. And before I left, a wise brother said to me, listen, go to Umrah, go to Hajj, go to Al-Aqsa, go to wherever. But if these things don't go to Hajj, go to Umrah, do all these nawafil, do all these things, but if these things don't translate into good behavior, then you've wasted your time. Your conduct through your life should be deen, not just these ritual acts. That's why Allah created death and life. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. أحسن عملا, best of actions. Where? In life, not just in one place at one time, in the masjid, out of the masjid. It's like, your salah is like your practice. And then, the salah is like your press ups, your sit ups, and your bag work. And going out of the masjid and going into the world, that's when you have to step into the ring and make it work. And I used to use the basketball analogy. You can shoot into an empty basket all you like, but can you do it in a game? You can memorize all the Quran you like, but can you apply it to life? Can you apply it in the masjid? It's a walk in the park to start reeling of Quran, which is fine, alhamdulillah. But can you do it when you're living out there with John, Richard, Mary, and Susan? Can you make it work? Are you going to train your son to look out to function? That's the word, function. We've memorized things, but we don't functional Islam. Our deen needs to be functional. The Quran came down over a 23-year period, and one of the first things the Quran did as it was revealed is to deal with the situations of the time. It was functional. When they needed a hukam for something, Allah revealed something to function for them. And yet today, 21st century, with Microsoft, Pepsi, and all the rest of it, all this technology, and yet our deen isn't functional. We're scratching for answers to things. And that is, you asked the original question, why have we gone? There's all this argument because we've neglected the basis of our deen. We've neglected our deen. We've resigned it to just empty practice and religious rituals, and we've lost the depth.
That's right.
And we've overindulged in the other things to the point where we've lost who we are.
That's right. My next question: what do you do for a living?
I'm a deputy head of secondary school. This one.
All right. Secondary school.
Yeah,
Can I ask you one question? It could be a difficult question. You've given a very difficult answers already, and I believe that you can solve this mystery out as well.
Okay, ask.
Like ulama, they ask the dalil of each and everything. Where is the dalil of this thing? Where is the dalil of this thing? Can I ask you, where is the school where is the dalil for school?
For school.
Like where we can get the dalil, from the life of Rasulullah that he has, because he's the role model, and his life is a role model as well till the day of judgment. So when did he make a school for the kids? What was the name of the school which he has created, or he has made, or maybe he started the school for the kids? What was the name of the school? Which school he has created, he made for the kids? I couldn't find that out.
You're not going to.
So
you're not going to. It's what you need to understand about Islam. Okay, and I'm not just to caveat right now. I'm not an alim, but what you need to understand is that Islam didn't come to pick out literally every atom of life. The reason for it is this: that's why you have fiqh, because you take the principles of what the Prophet ﷺ brought, and you utilize them for times at the times that go by. People spoke Arabic Fusha back then. We don't now. Okay, one could say, where's the dalil for English? Where's the dalil for everything else? Well, why aren't we speaking Arabic? Well, because we're not all Arab. That's one. Two, Islam hasn't come to uproot culture or tradition. When I teach here, and I teach RE specifically, besides being the deputy head, when I teach firstly the concept of human beings and deity, and the fact that everyone throughout history has been trying to make sense or try to define the indescribable. Allah said in the Quran, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ, there's nothing like unto him. And everyone has tried to make sense of religion across the world has tried to make sense of the Almighty. And one of the core principles we teach here is that first and foremost, you're not going to know anything of Allah except that which He tells you. Even the atheist has a relationship with Allah. The fact that he claims to not believe in Him is actually quite false, because he always the atheists tend to put conditions. If there was a God, then there wouldn't be any starvation, which means, okay, right, you don't believe in God, but you're arguing with His decree. which means you have designs as to what you think God should have. So you do have a relationship with God of sorts. One, two. Schooling isn't a problem. It's what you're teaching and how you're teaching is the issue. Because if you sit down now, I'll give an example. You don't educate in whatever form. You don't educate. What do you have? Just down the road from here, we have a youth correctional facility, Felton. 20% of all the prisoners there are Muslim kids. 75% of all the Muslim kids who leave reoffend. What's their main problem? Not educated. Okay, and the first part, just to add to that, it's not just down to school. The first school is home, and the first teacher is parents. And
that's the main point.
So, but not that said, you still need. In the Caribbean, we say it takes a village to raise a child. And the fact of the matter is, you need a community and you need a system of some kind. The fact that we use schooling here isn't the issue. The Muslims, the early Muslim generations took mathematical techniques from the Greeks in order to make calligraphy. They took other techniques from the Indians. Even the numbering system they took from the Indians. So it's not that it was wrong to take that, but it is how you adapt it. So educational-wise, I see now. If you talk about national curriculum, we're talking something different now. But if you're talking about
my problem is not the curriculum. My problem is not the teachers. Maybe these new laws, for example, it's LGBT, whatever. These new trends, become this and that.
And that's not hard to deal with either.
But main issue which I have when I focused on the schooling system, the main issue is that I'm so sorry to say that the son of the bitch, which is in every class, who is teaching the other kids pornography, who is telling them all this bad stuff, and they are in each and every school. Either is in Australia, either is in Pakistan, either is in Greek, or either any school, any section, any class, any section. This kid is there. How come? Is it a coincidence that that in every school there is a kid who is teaching them bad stuff?
I think it would be a little bit disingenuous to say every school. First and foremost, for example, I teach PSHE here as well.
Yeah.
And one of the things I cover is decency, especially at a particular age. And what I tend to do, and what many of my colleagues tend to do in different schools, is we tackle problems head on. There is a problem with pornography, and guess what? Google regularly every year publishes that the vast majority of downloads of pornographic material happen to be Muslims in Muslim countries.
That's right.
Right. So
I'm talking about before even Google. I'm not talking about maybe 20 years ago when the Google wasn't there, the YouTube wasn't that normal as well.
So
I'm talking about that.
If you find a kid who's pornographically exposed.
No, I'm just talking about that kid who always, in every class, he comes to the people and tells them bad stuff.
Then you deal with him.
Yeah, but the thing is,
I don't see a problem. You deal with him. You deal with him. Kids come with all sorts of nonsense because they're kids. Kids will soak up anything. They're kids. If a kid says to me, we should go and kill Jews. Okay, right, come here, son. Let me talk to you. I want to have loads of wives. I want to have loads of women. I want to drink alcohol. Oh, yeah, come here, son. Let me talk to you. He's a kid.
It was really good to see you.
No problem.